Hello and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 126 live. This is my crafty podcast where I hopefully inspire you on your making journey by sharing mine. In today's video, I have some knitting, crochet, and crochet design to talk about, some new patterns that have just come out that I've made up, as well as ones that I'm working on and need to be tested. So if you're catching the live stream live, say hi in the chat. Let me know you're here. This will be very interactive as always. And if you're catching the replay, let me know any questions you have in the comments below. I do get back. I read every comment and respond to every comment. So let's start out with something I've learned. So this was my first time ever using a crown width measurement to make a hat that fit. And it kind of blew my mind. Oh, good morning, Linda. How are you doing this morning? And good morning, Lacey. How are you? It's actually Lacey's hat pattern that I'm talking about. So let me show you the hats that I made. So this also blends into finished objects. So this is the Dear Sweet Presley hat by Lacey, who's hanging out in the chat with us this morning. I do have a link in the description box below to her website that she has the pattern up for free. So I'm going to go ahead and start with what I learned, and then we'll get more into the hat. And I see more people joining us this morning. Good morning, Lindsay. Good morning, Anvita. And good morning, Maud. I missed you guys all last week. I had some family stuff pop up and I had to cancel last minute, but I'm so excited to be here this week. So this hat. In this hat pattern, Lacey shares a chart that has measurements for different sizes, and one of those measurements is the crown width. So when you crochet a top-down hat, you start in that little ring right there, and you start increasing out flat. Well, the chart gives you a measurement so that when you hit the crown width, you stop increasing and you start working down the body. And I've never followed a pattern that's been written that way, nor have I designed one that's been written that way. Traditionally, how I do top-down crochet pattern hats is I'll make a gauge swatch, see how many stitches to the inch that I'm getting, and use that number to get my circumference. So if I'm getting 4 stitches to the inch and I want a 20-inch circumference hat, 20 times 4, I increase to that number of stitches. But with this method, you don't have to worry about stitch count at all. You don't even have to worry about gauge. You just worry about the measurement of the crown width and you stop increasing once you get there. And that's what I did for both of these hat patterns, and it worked like a dream. So it's the same hat pattern. I shouldn't say patterns. So both of these, I made the 3 to 10 size for the child because I made one for Annie, who's 1, but she's got a large head. And I made one for Emily, who's 6, and they fit beautifully. So that was something I've learned, and it was really fun and cool. Have you guys ever used a chart like that to make a hat fit? It goes off of your crown width for the increases instead of stitch count. Let me know. And you can share any patterns that you followed that work that way too. So this hat pattern in particular, though, this just came out a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now because I'm so far behind. But it is a free pattern on crochetlibra.com, which is Lacey's website. It's linked below, like I said. And it is written for an adult size, but the chart is given so that you can literally make it any size that you want. She reached out and asked me to film a tutorial for this hat pattern, and that will be coming out Monday, so you'll see that on the channel soon. I filmed every stitch, every row, including the 2 brim options, so that if you've never crocheted before, you can make these hats. The yarn that I used, Lacey actually sent to me. It was a custom colorway that she had dyed by Lilith Rose Fibers, and I do think I linked her shop down below. At least I hope I did. And it is dyed specifically pink and blue to represent infancy, pregnancy, and pregnancy loss awareness. So October was awareness for that month, and the pink and blue ribbon are those colors. Lacey designed this hat because she lost her niece at just 2 days old, which is absolutely devastating. And I don't want to talk too much about it because every time I read her blog post and start talking about it, it's devastating and it makes me cry because I had a pregnancy loss, which was difficult, and I don't want to downplay that at all. But I think about the longer terms. I can't imagine even how much more difficult that is to only surviving 2 days. It's very unfortunate, but this is not to be upset. This is to celebrate Presley's life. And so Lacey designed this pattern in memory of her and wanted to share it with everyone. And I am so glad that I got to film the tutorial for it. I think that you guys will like that so much. I didn't continue talking about the pattern. So it has this cute little V-stitch stripe in it, and the two brim options are these sweet little front post back posts or the single crochet ribbing in the back loop as you go, which is my favorite of the two. I usually do slip stitch, but single crochet in the back loop, it's still stretchy, but it's not as difficult to do as the slip stitching. It doesn't look like knit, but it is a decent ribbing. I will say that. So let me catch up in the chat with you all. Linda, it works well for me that way by measuring crown width. Yeah, I had never done that before, and I really liked it, and it's got me interested in designing some patterns written that way now. I would have to understand how to create one of those charts for the measurements, but it's a good start. Good morning, VJ. What a lovely idea to make a hat that will always fit. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're making it for yourself, like kids, their head changes over time, so it's a little harder, but your own size, once you know your specific crown width, because the charts are kind of a range within a half inch to an inch range for a size. But once you know yours, you're set. I mean, for top-down hats at least. Bottom up's a little trickier. Good morning, Kim. How are you this morning? And I agree, Maud. Lacey did a very good job with this pattern. It was super easy for me to follow. I had no questions whatsoever, and it was super easy to customize as well. Lacey, I love making crochet hat patterns, and I always try to make my patterns adjustable to fit everyone's head. We are all different shapes and sizes. And that is so true, especially when it comes to the length of the hat. I find that to be one of the biggest difficulties is how long do you design a pattern to fit everybody? Luckily, top-down hats are really easy to fix that. Bottom-up's not as easy, but it is also doable. Kind of lining up where you want your hat to start turning flat when you go bottom up is a little tricky, but top down, super easy. You literally just put it on until you're ready to stop. And you did a beautiful and clever pattern, Lacey. Yes, you did a great job. I think you're welcome, Lacey. And I hope everyone makes one of these hat patterns in memory of Presley. It is very sweet of you to offer the pattern for free forever. So that was something I learned this week and a finished object. The video tutorial for this is coming soon, so keep an eye out on that. What else did I want to say? Oh, this yarn. I told you it was from Lilith Rose Fibers, but I didn't tell you the base. This base is so yummy, you guys. I don't know if I show you up close, and that is my seam there. So let's not look at the seam. Can you see it's got a little bit of this soft fuzz halo? This is 100% baby alpaca, and it is luxurious and smooth and drapey. And this is Annie's hat. It fits her wonderfully. The other hat fits Emily wonderfully, and it's so soft. They love their hats. So this is her alpaca sport base, which is 100% baby alpaca. And this colorway, it's not up in her shop, but I do know that if you request a custom order through her Etsy shop, all you have to do is say that you want the infancy and pregnancy awareness colorway. Infancy and pregnancy loss awareness. Why am I having such a hard time saying that? Let's see. Canadian Crocheter did a tutorial for the no-name hat. She has a chart and instructions on how to measure on the description box of that tutorial. Great. Thank you for sharing that. I think patterns written this way are great for, they're very easy to follow. So thank you for sharing that pattern. Kim, I can attest it works in different kinds of yarn. I made it with acrylic and merino wool, and they both are lovely. Yeah, Kim, I saw your hats, and I really liked the one that you did in the awareness colors, as well as the solid. Looked really good on you in your live stream this week. So And I think the chart helps with that. You don't have to worry about gauge. You don't have to worry about yarn weight, although there is a recommended weight and hook size for that yarn. You're welcome. How was it working with 100% alpaca? Heard it can be slippery. Yes, if you watch the tutorial, you will see that I snagged my yarn like twice because it is so slippery. It wasn't too difficult, but I did snag a couple times, which is my own fault for using a nickel-plated crochet hook with such a slippery yarn. But I was able to fix the snags pretty easily and get lovely stitch definition. This is a wonderful base. I really like it. It's luxury. This is bougie for sure. Yes, you guys. Kim has made 2 Presley hats and they're both gorgeous. You can go see those hats on her YouTube channel and her last 2 live streams. This last one was the solid, and the one before that, she showed off the colorful one. If you're interested, they're really cute. And she made the adult sizes. Pink is not my color, which is why I chose to make these for my kids. Annie looks really cute in pink, and Emily's favorite color is pink. So oh, and that's the other thing. I was able to get 2 child size hats out of 100-gram hank of yarn, and I almost had enough to make a third. You can make the adult size with just one hank of 100 grams of yarn. So that is also a thing that's amazing about this pattern. Okay. Good morning, Divergent Crafter. Thanks for joining the live stream. Moving on to works in progress. I have made a little bit of progress on what I'm calling the 550 striped shawl in the project bag I got from the Mesa Skeins Halloween box. And this is all the yarn that came in the box. So I did share this off in my last podcast episode, and I talked about my issues with the striping. And so I did start with an asymmetric shape. And then when I got to the center, I did 2 plain rows with no shaping. And then I started decreasing back the opposite way. So this will be a shallow triangle shaped shawl. It's all double crochet, and I have been striping the colors. So this first color, and this is all fingering weight, and I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So I started with Shadow Cat, striped Shadow Cat into Jack-o'-lantern, striped Shadow Cat in between Jack-o'-lantern and Witchy Business. Then I striped Witchy Business, Shadow Cat into, oh, what's it called? I don't remember the green one. And then this is Monster Mash in the middle. And now I'm reversing it all the way back down. And I think I've figured out how to avoid the ends. I still have ends that I need to weave in. The striping process has created so many ends. It's ridiculous. Cat's eye. Yes, the green one is cat's eye. Thank you, Lacey. Anyways, I try not to read the chat because I get so distracted I forget where I'm at, which is why I kind of go back and forth. So the striping. I figured out a way to minimize the ends doing the single row stripes. I'm still kind of perfecting the process of how that is exactly working, but the concept is that I work 2 right side rows and then 2 wrong side rows, and I carry up the ends on the side. So you can see I've got the working yarn attached here, which is where I ended. Then I went back to the beginning of the row with the other color, and I'm crocheting my way. Get that out of the way. I'm crocheting my, so actually no, I left it here, and I'm crocheting my way down. And when I get to the end, I will start the next row back up here with this color because I carried it up to the end and it's sitting right on top. So that is how I've been trying to minimize ends. This is just a quick pattern that I sketched up to use this yarn from her Halloween box. And I plan to put it up as like a free recipe style where it's basically just the written shape and the rows that I striped with what colors when it's done. I love the way that it's looking so far, and I cannot wait till it's done. I think this is going to be a really fun, spooky shawl that I, of course, wear year round. It goes very well with the black that I always wear. So I've really been enjoying this project. It's pretty mindless and also interesting because I want to get to the next block of color. And I've made it past the hump. I made it past the widest part of the shawl, which means we're decreasing and my rows are going by faster and faster and faster. So I'll probably finish this shawl by the end of the week. And I'm doing the whole striping system by weighing the balls. So this is all of my leftovers. I'm done with Monster Mash and I'm done with Cat's Eye now. And these are my leftovers. I don't think I have quite enough to do like contrasting toes and heels on a sock, but maybe some fun, scrappy something later because it's still a significant amount. So that is the 550 striped shawl. Let me catch up and see if I missed anything. Looks like everybody's saying hi. And Lacey, if you guys know me, y'all know I'm a bougie yarn person. This is my very favorite yarn base. It's heavenly luxurious. Yeah, if you can work with alpaca, it is an amazing base, and that is not an exaggeration. And for it to be Lacey's favorite, that's saying something because she's touched some fancy yarns. Shallow triangle shaped shawl. Say that 5 times fast. Yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I have all the tongue twisters this morning. Shallow triangle shaped shawl. I've used an alpaca blend for the LYSM Cowl. Oh, Lift Your Spirits. And I've fallen in love with the fiber. I didn't remember that was alpaca. That was absolutely gorgeous. I've fallen in love with the fiber. I can only imagine. Alpaca is also amazingly warm if you live somewhere that tends to be cold. I love wearing a cowl or shawl that's alpaca. You can literally feel your body heat escaping when you take the pieces off. Like you don't realize necessarily how warm you are, and you take it off and you're like, oh, I'm cold. Give me that back. It just traps your body heat. The green section reminds me of Minecraft. Yeah, they look like little creeper heads. That's a cool way to use mini skein sets. Like it. Yes, I've actually got another project that I've started that I'm not super ready to talk about yet. It's something that Lacey and I have been working on, and it would also be a good project for using mini skein sets. So I'm excited about that one, but that one won't be coming out for a little while. It looks so fun. I personally think you will wear this shawl a lot. Oh, I know I will. It would be perfect for like birthday parties or parties in general, or it's perfect for everything. Honestly, Lacey, it's just the colors. She did such a good job collecting Halloween all into one set of colors, and I'm so happy to put it all into one project that I can wear. Should you use a smaller hook needle with alpaca knowing it has a tendency to stretch? That is a great question. So I've never intentionally gone down in hook size knowing alpaca stretches, but I have been careful to make projects a little bit smaller than I want their final size to be, to account for the stretching. So I don't really have as much of a problem with the stitches opening up and being too open and loose of a gauge, but I have had issues with the alpaca kind of just growing in length over time, length more than width. So I would just be careful of your row length with whatever project you're making, especially if you're going to make a sweater. That is, especially because once you block it, that's when you really see how much that's going to grow, which is why it's recommended that you make a gauge swatch and block it and keep note of how did it change over time, especially when you're working with natural fibers like alpaca. Okay, so that is the 550 striped shawl. I have been trying not to cast on new or chain start new projects until I get some of my finished designs released. But sometimes you just have an idea, or maybe it's just me. Actually, I know Lacey and Kim, you both said you do this, where you just have to try out the idea. This idea came to me in the shower, and I immediately was like, I just have to do it. I have to see if this works. So what I'm talking about is what I'm calling the twister top. So, of course, I got my lovely Halloween yarn from Hobbii. I did a unboxing haul of that. It's on my channel if you haven't seen it yet. This is the Halloween twister. And they don't have the cool names on the tags. It just says color 1. But They're all distinctly different colors. I don't think this one's available anymore. Unfortunately, they discontinued the line of colors, but I got 2 of them to make a garment for myself. It's a sport weight yarn, so it's very fine. I thought I would hold them double, but when I did that, because it's an acrylic cotton blend. Let's see, it's 55% cotton, 45% acrylic. And you can see, especially in the areas of color, and I'm probably going to regret that I did this, the way that it's created is one strand is acrylic and one strand is cotton, which is fine. I love the feel, but the cotton makes it a little bit heavier. So when I held the 2 strands together, it was a little bulky and a little thick for my personal preference. I need to get a drink of water real quick, you guys. I feel a tickle in my throat. So I held the 2 strands together, did a few crochet stitches, did not like it, ripped that out, started back over again with just a single strand using a 3.5 millimeter hook. I swear everything I'm crocheting right now is with a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. This label says it's a sport weight yarn. I feel like it looks and is working up more like a fingering weight yarn, more of like a number 1 super fine yarn. Either way, I wanted a garment where I didn't have to break the gradient. The gradient is gorgeous, but generally when you make garments, sleeves are last. You do everything and you come back for the sleeves. And I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to break up the yarn to try to figure out how to make it all match. So I'm doing a very unusual construction, which I already can tell I have to change the neckline, but it should be a matter of like changing the first row, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And oh no, I have to make another one. Like, oh, I get 2 of these. Like, not super mad about it as long as it works out. This is the first time in a while that I haven't actually done the sizing and grading beforehand. I usually do the gauge swatch and I use Excel to do all the sizing and grading and basically create my pattern and math form and follow that. I wanted to just start it. So this is what I have. This is the twister top. And from what I understand about this experiment is that it has to be a short sleeve tee because I don't like tops that have like the giant bell sleeves. And the way that I'm planning on doing this, I can't shape the sleeves. So we get wide t-shirt sleeves, which I love. Like I've got a wide t-shirt sleeve now. So this should be a T-shaped top. It goes this way. A T-shaped top that is the full gradient. Now, I will need to use both of the gradient cakes. So I haven't decided if I'm going to get all the way to the black and then reverse the second cake, or if I'm going to start the striping sequence again. I figured I would worry about that part when I got there. Let me go ahead and try it on and show you guys what it looks like. Due to this construction, it has to be a boat neck style top, which isn't my favorite, but it's the trade-off of not breaking the gradient. So this is where I'm at so far. I've got my boat neck and my sleeves, and I'm just going to keep continuing to work down until I get past that. When I could sew the sleeves shut, they will be a circumference that I'm happy with. And that's the part that I'm not really sure how it's going to work out yet, and I'm going to find out when I get there. If it doesn't work out at all, I'm going to turn this into something else, because this little bit of work has already been so much work because it's so fine. And also look at that drape. I mean, the cotton and acrylic, this top is, it's a little heavy with the cotton, but it has really good drape. And look at that. You will not need an undershirt whatsoever because I am using the linked double crochet stitch, and you cannot see through the top at all. So it looks kind of like single crochets in the back loop every other row a little bit, but it's all the height of double crochets. So it's going faster than it would, but also because it's so fine and thin, slower than I want it to. So that is what I've been doing with this twister top. Let me catch up with you all. Lacey, I've been wearing the hat I made with the alpaca yarn often, and so far no problems. I think the fact that it's so light helps with it not stretching out. Yeah, I haven't had the hat stretch out either. And honestly, it didn't grow too much with blocking. It fits really well, but we'll have to just watch it over time. Sportway is my bae. So then, Lacey, what have you worked with Twister? I feel like this is a lie. That colors of yarn are so lovely. Yeah, they did an amazing job with this colorway. I love it so much. Oh, hey, Chrysalis. Amanda, I got my package yesterday. Thank you so much. Also, if you're not aware, she's the one that won the 1K subscriber giveaway. I got that out in the mail earlier this week. She won all of the yarn to make my simple asymmetric mohair shawl. I'm playing with that exact yarn and colorway right now. What? Really? That's awesome. I'm crocheting the ultimate sacrifice shawl with it. What does that look like? I haven't seen that one. How cool. It's working. Yeah, I think the top is working. My biggest concern, and you can see it already starting to form, is at the shoulders here. There's normally, like, you start with less and then you increase out. So there's extra fabric here, but and this is why I have to do this to see if this works. I feel like once the sleeve length gets there, this part that seems extra will be tucked into the underarm because I don't plan on chaining. So I'm not really sure exactly how this is going to turn out. It's like a try and see and fingers crossed. And for me, it's fun to learn and explore and the challenge. That's my favorite part of designing. So could you stop shorter and chain a few under the arms? I'm making a sweater with a twister and it is taking forever, but I just take decreases in the underarms also. Okay, so let me think about that for a second. So I take it that your top-down sweater is seamless and in the round. Normally, when you chain in the underarm, you pick up stitches on your sleeve on the underarm, which is why I have to do a T shape. And it's going to be a little bit different because I don't want to come back and work the sleeves later because that's going to break the gradient. So for this top, I'm not going to be able to chain the underarm. I actually chained extra stitches at the top to grow my sleeves, hopefully at a good rate as the front, so that I'm going until this width for where my sleeve is hits my upper arm circumference. And then the big question is how that's going to fit around my bust. That's what I don't quite understand how it's going to work out yet because I didn't do the math. I literally was like, I'll just chain 3 inches and then see what kind of sleeve length that looks like. It's total shame on me. And I hope I don't come back and bite myself for doing that. But if you're doing like a raglan top or a raglan shaped top where you've got your 2 increases in the front and your 2 in the back at your shoulders, or if you're doing a circular yoke, where your increases are spread out in the round every couple of rounds, those almost always have you chain under the underarm and then you pick up your sleeves and continue working out from underneath your underarm and the top as well. See, twister is definitely fingering. See, I knew I was not the only one that felt this way. And I feel like I've seen other yarn companies sell a similar yarn that they label as fingering. But there is such a range in the sizes that maybe this is a heavy fingering or in a very light sport. But to me, this is fingering. I haven't worked with it, but it looks pretty thin. I think European yarns tend to be on the lighter end. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That is a total possibility and reason why. It's on Ravelry and so beautiful. I'll have to check it out. I need to write that down. I'll have to come back and rewatch the live Ultimate Sacrifice, or you can share it in the Facebook group if you're a part of it. If you're not, no worries. So Maud looked it up. She's on board. Okay, I need to go check it out. That could work. See where your underarms are. You could stick a couple decreases in there. I could start decreasing. I need to think about that. I do need to think about that. I need to draw that out and swatch that on a smaller scale, but I don't feel like that's a bad idea. I feel like that's a good idea. It's not a bad idea. Sorry to pause a second. I'm catching up. Gotcha. I switched to a twister solid for the arms on mine. Oh, that's a good idea. Or doing the reverse, like a solid body with a twister on the sleeves. That would be really cool too. All right, let's move on to my next project. Oh, I'm going so slow here. See, we're already 30 minutes in, and I still have a lot of things to talk about. The next thing I started is a pair of socks for Lacey. So when she sent me the yarn for the tutorial, I thought that was very sweet of her to give me the yarn to make the tutorial with. So she had been talking about socks in general, and she only crochets and she doesn't knit. And I figured everybody needs to experience hand knit socks at some point in their life. So I asked her to send me also a hank of yarn that she would like me to knit her a pair of socks with. And this is what she sent me, and I left the tag somewhere else because it's not in here. So I don't know what this yarn is. I know that Lacey got it in a knit crate box. Lacey, do you remember what it was? Now I have to go see if I still even have that tag. I want to say it started with a V, but that is not helpful to anybody at all. But it's this really fun colorway, and like I feel like this yarn is just as thick as the twister. I believe it is a superwash merino nylon blend. And here are the socks that I've cast on for her. In Lacey's words, she has giant feet. So they are a lot bigger than what I'm used to making, and I really hope they fit. She sent me her measurements, so fingers crossed, they're going well. I am making her the Time Traveler socks by Liz Sedmick, which is I believe it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I think this is a great beginner-friendly knit sock tutorial because it goes from the toe up, which means you can try it on as you go to get a good fit. It's got a fleagle heel, so that heel tends to be a little bit easier to do than some of the others, like a heel flap and gusset. And then it has ribbing, and not like a plain ribbing, but an interesting ribbing across the top of the foot and the leg, which helps if you're making your first pair of socks and your gauge is a little bit off. The ribbing helps snug the sock into your foot. I've made 3 pairs of these socks in the past, and I've been happy with the way they turned out every time. So these are the socks that I'm knitting for Lacey, and I am a kind of loose knitter, so I'm knitting these socks on a US size 0, which is a 2.0 millimeter tiny needle, and I'm knitting them 2 at a time. Yes, okay. Skipping around here, Lacey, it's Vitellana. Yeah, I do think that's what it was. I don't know what the base was or the colorway, but that sounds right, Vitellana. So I haven't been on Facebook in almost a year. Yeah, then no worries. I will go find the pattern. Kim, it's the 4-ply, right? If so, it works up as a sport because the threads spread. At least that was my experience working with it, making a virus shawl with it. Oh, interesting. I mean, I guess it does. It does work up thicker than I thought it would for being a fingering weight. My gauge is more of a sport weight. So I guess even though it does look thinner, it is working up to the gauge of a sport weight. That is a good point, Kim. Thank you for bringing that up. Or maybe a 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in same stitch, like the corner of a granny square. I think you're talking about the seams on the top. I don't want to have any gaps in it, which is why I did the linked double crochet to close them all. So having that chain 1 space would create some gaps. So I wouldn't want to do that. Let's see. Yep, I do have big old feet. My husband calls me Peggy Hill. I'm like trusting gauge and trusting the pattern. But when I opened this up and saw how big it was and I put it on my foot, I was like, this is not going to fit. So I had my partner David try it on, and I measured his foot, which is about the same size, and it was fitting well. So I'm like, I just need to trust it. My gauge and math is working out to the size it should be. So these should fit you, hopefully. LOL, Peggy Hill. Yeah, I'm so excited to have some knit socks. I'm excited for you too. These are a back burner project, so it's not going to be overnight. There's so many hours into this project already, and there's so many more that it needs. I just keep it by my bedside at night, pick it up, knit a couple rows, put it down. It's nice to have a second type of craft to give my hands a different movement, because crochet tends to be the same repetitive movements. Knitting is using your hands, but it's different movements. So I like to go back and forth sometimes just to change it up and rest some muscles and use some other ones. All right, the other work in progress I just started yesterday because I am working on getting these patterns out. I am specifically talking about the patterns from the Lion Brand mystery box. So my whole thing for buying that box was to challenge myself to design with everything in the box, and I did, but none of those patterns are out yet. Because I love designing patterns, I'm not as keen on writing them, although I want to do this for a living, and the whole way to monetize being able to design patterns for a living is actually releasing them. So I started another Gulls and Slips cowl. So this is the Gulls and Slips cowl. I did a stitch pattern tutorial for this, which is available on my channel, and I'm actually refilming the cowl itself because it does have a top and bottom border, and I'm including the stitch counts, but I wanted to make it not so tight and dense as the sample. This is using Lion Brand Basic Stitch Premium, which came in the box. It's a discontinued yarn. Now they have, so there's two. There's Lion Brand Basic Stitch Premium, which is this one, which is discontinued. And then there's Lion Brand Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling, which is what the current line is. It's available. It's a different fiber. It's the anti-pilling one, but it's the same weight. And I think the colors are mostly the same. I haven't actually worked with the anti-pilling, but this gauge was a little too tight and dense for my liking. So I'm making a second sample to get a new gauge, a new finish measurement, and also film the tutorial. So I'm only a couple rounds into this one, and I actually did make it a little tighter too. And I'm going to make it taller. So because this stitch pattern uses slip stitches in the back loop only and the waistcoat stitch, it is one that you have to like jump up in hook size. I'm using a 6.5 millimeter, and I also, so Basic Stitch Premium comes in skeins, but you can't pull from the inside of these very easily. So I caked mine up because it runs the loose strands that you catch later. So I caked mine up so that I could pull from the inside and the outside for those loose strands. And yeah, I've been filming that. I think I'm probably going to eventually make a hat to match because I do have a whole nother skein that won't be used. And I think it would be really fun to use scraps for this loose strand that's woven in and out of your work as you work. Like maybe do the border in like a scrappy variegated, the body in a solid, and then weave that loose strand in that matching colorful variegated. I think that would be really fun. Or even, let me show you the whole one. Even you could use scraps for each woven strand. I think that could be really fun and colorful. It's all one color because that was the challenge. So that is my final work in progress that I've been working on this week that I'm willing to talk about at least. What are we doing when we have more ideas than our hands can keep up with? Like losing our minds? That's what I do. I have to pace myself and write it down and convince myself to finish things that I've started before I allow myself to start new things, because I have way more ideas than I can possibly work on, and I lose my mind about it sometimes. I'm working on that. That cowl is gorgeous. Is that an acrylic? Yes, it's 100% acrylic. You made that yarn drape real good. I think the original is gorgeous, so I can only imagine the new one. Yeah, it's the drape isn't bad, but you can see when I wear it, it's just a little stiff. It's not really fair because like I'm comparing it to the knit version. So if you guys are new to my channel, I talked about this when I originally did a couple of months ago, I did a live stream reviewing this Basic Stitch Premium and talking about the design process for this cowl. It's based off of the knit cowl that I made using the Gulls and Slips knit pattern, and this just drapes so much better, partially because it's knit, partially because it's 100% organic Polworth hand spun. It's a bougie yarn. Um, I guess it doesn't drape all that much more, but I guess I just feel it's not as dense. I like the feeling of this one much better, which really could just be the yarn itself. I tend to prefer natural fibers, so maybe that's it. I don't know. Love that stitch. Yeah, it's a really fun one. It can be a little tricky at first because, and I do have this labeled as an intermediate pattern because it requires you to, it's unusual stitches with the waistcoat stitch, and it requires you to keep a good tension on your loose float as well as working all of your stitches loosely. Slip stitching in the back loop only and the waistcoat stitch both require you to have a very intentionally loose gauge, which is difficult when you're a beginner crocheter. So that's the only thing is it's a little difficult. Catherine, good morning, Catherine. That cowl is stunning, Manda. Thank you. I kind of want to make one out of wool too to see the difference. Take a lot of notes. Kim, I've shared my notebooks on here before. I have like too many ideas all over the place. Maybe if I could organize them, I wouldn't get so upset about it. I literally have to brain dump weekly and then reorganize and reprioritize, but the ideas keep coming so much faster. Does anyone else have a suggestion on how to help tame the beast that is our brain? This is my brain. I just start 4 sweaters. See, I'm not the only one. Start 4 sweaters, 3 blankets, 2 shawls, and cycle through them all until I finally finish one or two and pick up 3 more. So that's basically what I do. That's pretty good drape. The first cowl I made fitted like an accident collar. Oh no! Oh, that is great. I've got so many whips and haven't been able to crochet for weeks. I'm so sorry. Keeping my fingers crossed for my chronic pain will calm down a bit soon. I want to finish my Lift Your Spirit shawl. Oh, I am so sorry. Yes, fingers crossed that your chronic pain ends soon. I think that that's something that people don't really fully understand what it's like until they've experienced it. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on to check it out. So these are my other 2 patterns, but this one's like, this is how the check it out starts though. I bought Go for Fur or Go for Faux. Go for Fur. It sounds like Go for Fur. Go for Faux. This Lion brand, Go for Faux. I was at Walmart and I saw these. They only had 2 skeins in this white colorway. It is amazingly soft. So soft. So let me give you the details if you don't know about this yarn, which you probably already do. So this is Lion brand Go for Faux. It is 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, 65 yards or 60 meters of a 100% polyester. It's a super bulky and it recommends crocheting it with a 9mm or knitting it with a 9mm or probably larger. This fur type yarn can be difficult to work with, but I plan on using it for trim. I had the idea to make another puffy pinafore. So I am currently working on, this is another design from the Lion brand mystery box. I got Vanna's Choice in the aquamarine colorway. And I crocheted Annie, what I'm calling the puffy pinafore, and it's inside out. So you're not even seeing the texture. So this is a worsted weight acrylic yarn with this adorable puffy pinafore. I'm going to make a Christmas one, and I'm going to trim it with the Go for Faux. How cute is that going to be? I'm thinking that I'm not actually going to crochet the bottom rounds with the Go for Faux because it's only 90 or 65 yards. I think I'm just going to do like a slip stitch border along the top. I don't think, probably not the waist, but definitely on the bottom, the top here in the front and the bottom. And hopefully I have enough to do like a Santa hat to go with it. And I might like do, I'm thinking red with the faux fur and then maybe like a little green holly on it somewhere. Ah, it's so cute. So that is my check it out. Have you worked with the Go for Faux? Have you swatched with it? Have you made a pattern? Have you seen any really cool patterns that call for it? let me know. Let's see, catching up. Thank you. And yes, very true. Yes. Your kitty is having wild dreams, it looks like. Yeah, she likes to sleep up above the shoes up there. Oh no, my battery's running low. I thought I plugged it in. Hold on, you guys. I don't want to lose you. Wait. Oh, it is plugged in. It just got unplugged at some point. Okay. Go for fur. Yeah, that I don't know why, but that's what I keep hearing. Um Lacey says, "Oh, and now I'm really laggy because my computer almost died." Oh no, I'm 560. I know that feeling with the pain. Have you checked out? Yeah, because Lacey has pains in her hands. Have you checked out the would-be hooks? Oh yeah, Lacey sent me pictures of these hooks, and they look really comfortable and amazing. It's what allowed me to crochet when my carpal tunnel started hurting really bad. Side note on carpal tunnel, you guys. I finally got seen by my neurologist and he did a full exam. And one of the things that we talked about was the pain that I was having in my hands. And he hit some nerve in my elbow and he's like, "You feel that?" And I was like, "Ow, yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, that's carpal tunnel." It's like, "Oh." He's like, "But don't worry about it because you're not really having any other symptoms, but you probably will down the line." I'm not super surprised. I crochet and knit all the time. But yeah, I have to look forward to that in my future. Maybe I need to invest in those wooden hooks like now. I'm so glad to see it in your hands because it looks way chunkier than I thought it would be. Are you talking about the For Faux? So the strand that the fur is connected to is even thick too, and then there's a lot of polyester on here. Is going to be very, very thick. My hooks are somewhat ergonomic, but I'm thinking of possibly buying a furls hook. Sorry you have to deal with the pain too. I'm really laggy. Sorry, guys. That will be the cutest little Christmas outfit. Thank you. I think so too. I finished my shawl pattern, need to rethink my hooded cowl, and have an idea for a set of fingerless gloves. Plus, I have to make samples for 3 stitch tutorials and have another shawl. Yeah, Kimmy said just like me. But yay on finishing your shawl pattern. I can't wait to see it come out. I love my Frills Odyssey, and I'm more indifferent about my streamline. The streamline is very light, the Odyssey heavy. For some reason, less hand pain with the Odyssey. That's interesting. I'll have to give the Odyssey a try eventually. I wasn't a fan of the streamline, but I'm willing to try anything. So eventually I'll have to get my hands on an Odyssey and give it a try. Just to have an opinion about it. I can't speak on it if I've never tried it before. I want to make something with that fur yarn, and there is some of the Sherpa yarn. It looks amazing. Yeah, I haven't seen or touched the Sherpa yarn in person yet, but I did see this Go For Faux, and I wanted to give it a try. The Odyssey is what I use all the time. Odyssey is way too heavy for me. Love how they work, but I can't use it for long periods of time. And see, that's what I've heard too, which is why I've just got to give it a try. So the puffy pinafore I sized for children's 2 through 12, and it is waiting on a schematic. I just have to create the schematic for, well, the schematic and then also an assembly diagram for the straps. I wanted to create those 2 things. And then it's ready for my tech editor and then testing. So that's my one check it out. And then my other check it out is that my ice cream party Cardi, it's ready for testing. So this took me way longer to write than I expected. When I sized it, I had made an error and I didn't catch it until I started writing it. And then I caught it, but I forgot. So I use Excel to do all the math for me. And so I fixed it in the size 2, but I forgot to drag the new formula over for all the sizes. So when I sent this off to my tech editor, one of the major mistakes was that I hadn't dragged that formula over. So the first size matched its finished measurements for the bust, but the other sizes did not, which meant it changed the slope of decreases for the other sizes, which meant I had to rewrite mini stitch counts in some of the rows for the pattern. So round 2, back to the tech editor. I got it back. Now all the numbers match, all the finished measurements match, and it's ready to go. So that is something that I want to know. I have all of my patterns professionally tech edited so that if you ever test for me, you do not have to do math. You just have to see if you can make the pattern. Did the pattern fit well? Were there any errors in it? And does it fit the way that you were hoping and expecting? But you don't have to worry about like getting to a certain point and being like, this doesn't math up, because I pay someone to take care of that for me. I can only imagine the disasters that would have happened if I didn't send it to my tech editor first and it went out to people with all of the sizes but the first size being wrong. So this is the third and final design from the Lion Brand mystery box. This is Lion Brand Ice Cream Cotton Blend, which I believe they are discontinuing. So it's like crazy on sale right now for $2.99 a ball, which means you can make the smallest size for like $15. And I think it's actually the first 2 sizes use the same amount of yarn. So that's a crazy deal for a cardigan. And there's still some fun colors left. This is the strawberry colorway. I made this one in the child size 6. The pattern's available from child size 2 through 12. I'm looking for a tester for each size. I did send out the call to testers to my newsletter subscribers first, so they get first dibs, and then I'm announcing it to you guys second. So I do have a link in the description box below if you'd like to test this pattern for me. There is an application form that has the full details of the test. It doesn't start, I wrote it down, it doesn't start until November 22nd, which gives plenty of time for everyone to sign up. And so there's time for everyone to sign up. Once the testers are selected on the 22nd, the test is for 4 weeks, which gives everyone about a week to order yarn if they don't have yarn in stash, and then 3 weeks to make the pattern, which I feel like is an okay amount of time for the size 12, plenty of size for the size 2. So yeah, it is a seamed, modified, drop shoulder, deep V-neck cardigan with slip stitch ribbing around the sleeves, the bottom, and the button band. It's got these 6 buttonholes here in the front. When the actual pattern is ready to come out, there will be video tutorials to go with it, but my testers will not have access to those. I want the pattern to be able to stand alone in addition to have the video help. So yeah, that is the Ice Cream Party Cardi. Emily's size took 4 balls, I think, but in the pattern I recommended 5 because I like had to undo my swatches to have enough yarn to make it. And when I do the estimated yardage for my patterns, I add 10 to 15% padding to account for gauge changes. All right, let's go back. Might be time to put the Odyssey on my Christmas list. Thanks for the advice. Maybe that's what I need to do. Ask Santa. And I mentioned this is a review, but you can't switch between an Odyssey and another hook brand. If you start with it, you have to finish with it or another furls. Yes, Kim has a really great series of crochet hook reviews on her channel, and she worked with a lot of the most popular crochet hook styles. And I do remember that in your review that it changed your gauge so much. I mean, that's kind of typically what you should do though. Whichever hook you start a project with, you should work the entire project in that hook, because the metal or the wood, the type of material your hook is made out of, even the way you grip it, it's all going to change your gauge slightly, just as much as your mood for the day will change your gauge too. The Party Cardi looks amazing. Thank you. And of course, the testers don't have to use the ice cream cotton blend. So if you were looking for something solid, this shape, this design, and I didn't mention the body's all half double crochet, so you really zoom right through it. This sweater I think would look really cute in a solid color. Or you could even have fun and stripe it yourself. I don't care. I just want the testers to follow the stitch counts and measure their gauge. That's what I care about. And follow the instructions. Do they make sense? Can't switch. Oh, I already did that one. Sorry, guys. That's good to know. The Cardi is so cute. Thank you. And oh my gosh, the cardigan is adorable. Thank you, thank you. I've got 2 pictures of Emily wearing it. She loves it. I don't let her wear it outside of the pictures because I need to be able to continue to photograph, video, and market this pattern. And I'm afraid that she's gonna stain it before that happens, and I don't want to risk that because she is 6. So I did buy enough yarn to go ahead and make another one for Annie to match. I got the strawberry colorway again, so I'm going to be remaking the size 2 for myself while I film the video tutorials as well. So this, because the test will go on for so long, this pattern won't actually release until the end of December. So while I'm making progress on getting these designs out, it is slow because I want to make sure that they are very well written and good to go before they are available. So I love that Cardi. I wish Layla was smaller. Sony could make her one. Oh yeah. I want to say the biggest this goes, the size 12 is like a 30-inch bust. So yeah, maybe, but maybe not. Oh, so you meant so I could make her one. LOL mood crochet. Happy loose stitches. Mad double crochet looks like single crochet. Oh my gosh. I feel like that needs to go on something, Kim. That is great. Like on a project bag or something. The double crochet looks like a single crochet when you're mad. I know that feeling. See, Catherine does too. Oh my gosh, you're cracking me up this morning. All right, so that was everything for check it out. Moving on to Let's Chat. You guys, I've had a week. My refrigerator broke. What? Why? Well, I know why. It's 30 years old, or at least that's what I was told. So the guy that I bought this house from, he bought the refrigerator when he bought the house. When I bought the house like 3 years ago, he said he had owned it for 30 years. So the refrigerator's 30 years old. I should have seen this coming. The freezer stopped working slowly. And I thought, oh, maybe the kids were like leaving it open because I have a step stool in my kitchen. I encourage my kids to start to become independent. So I thought, oh, maybe they're just forgetting to close it. So one night I closed it really good and I woke up and the ice tray machine was just full of water. No, but the fridge was still cold. So I cleaned everything out of the freezer. I'm like, we can make this work. I have a big freezer because the guy was a hunter. And so hunters buy those big, tall freezers to store large amounts of meat at once. So I moved everything from the freezer into the big freezer. I'm like, we can put this off. Maybe wait for like Black Friday sales. No, like literally overnight, it went from kind of cold to like warmer than inside the house. I lost a lot of what was in that refrigerator. The stuff that like is recommended to refrigerate, but then doesn't really go bad that quickly. I moved to the mini fridge. My partner has a mini fridge in our bedroom. So I took all of his stuff out of there that like beverages that don't really need to be refrigerated, shoved it all in there. And we ordered a new refrigerator, but it doesn't even come until Monday. So I have been living off of pantry and freezer foods and making sure not to cook too much because that's the biggest thing about not having a refrigerator is you can't store leftovers. And the weather, while it's cold here, it's swinging too much during the day. And I don't want to risk attracting critters. It's been a whole thing. That's what has been going on with me lately. Oh no, that's the worst, right? Oh, Divergent Crafter. Love that you put padding in as I become annoyed when I discover I need more yarn after purchasing the suggested amount. I note those designers who leave me short on yarn and avoid their patterns and vice versa. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't remember how I learned about designers putting padding into their patterns. And it's rough because the bigger the pattern is, kind of the more padding you need because it becomes like an exponential thing that if their gauge is just a little too loose, it really adds up in these larger projects and they end up needing a whole skein more sometimes. I watched that happen with a knit along for a giant blanket. Many people, because it was such a massive blanket, many people needed an entire ball or some, I think even 2 more than what the pattern called for, because it was like a shawl or like a poncho blanket, so the gauge didn't really matter, but even if you don't really care if your finished measurements are bigger, you will use more yarn, and that does matter. So yeah, I try to do my best. I'm looking for a new freezer, and one of the websites advertised it saying it's so big you can put a whole person in there. Somebody watching Dexter? Like, oh my goodness. You can fit a whole person in there. Like, it's funny because it's inappropriate, but also low key, like, okay, but really, like, can we laugh at this? Our freezer's that big for sure, but it's full of all sorts of frozen goodies in there, anyways. So I always buy so much Cool Whip, you guys. I put Cool Whip in my coffee every morning. Um, David and his dad tease me. They call it my lollipop coffee. So I always have like a ton of tubs of Cool Whip in the freezer so I can put a big old scoop on my coffee in the morning. Um, yeah. Oh, I was gonna say too, real quickly before I get off, because I'm hitting my hour. Annie turned 1. My youngest daughter turned 1 last week, and we celebrated her birthday. It was super cute. David's mom lives on the other side of the United States. She flew up to visit and decorated the whole house like an aloha theme, and it was really adorable. She bought her a smash cake. She made a giant mess, got it everywhere. Absolutely loved it. It was super cute. First birthdays are one of my favorite birthdays because they're really developing into a person that you can interact with a lot more than just crying and sleeping. So that was really fun. Oh, it's okay. So Mocha's a ready whip girl. Hey, no shame. Like, I prefer Cool Whip, but if I don't have Cool Whip, I'll take the Ready Whip. Especially the flavored ones are really good too. Do you do those ones? Um, let's see. Chris says, never piss off a hooker. We'll put you in the freezer. We'll put you in the new fridge. That would sell it to me. I have 2 teenage boys and a little girl who is hung. Oh my gosh, teenage boys can eat. My kids aren't teenagers yet, but I have 3 younger brothers that I grew up with, and when they were teenagers, I was primarily doing the cooking, and I feel like I should have been cooking for a house of 6, but I was cooking for like a house of 12 because of how much those boys ate. They still eat like that too as like full-on adults. I cook our Thanksgiving every year, so, and I always have to make, like, you would think we were having 20 people coming over, and it's really like 8 people. We try to go to the grocery store oh, yes, that is my preferred method of shopping, and I think it's really underrated. It sucks when you're sitting there with 1 to 2 shopping carts trying to check out, but I don't like going to the grocery store. And if I can cut it down to 1 to 2 times a month by taking advantage of freezers, I absolutely do. Happy birthday, Annie. Thank you, Catherine. I love the first birthday, seeing the cake smash and shoved in their mouths. So I will say, the thing that was really funny about this cake smash was that she bought an aloha themed cake. And so there was like an ocean and sand and trees. Well, when you mix all the colors, it turns brown. So even though it was a vanilla cake with vanilla frosting, she was covered in brown. Just, she shoved it up her face everywhere. And I wasn't even thinking, we did cake before presents. So I ended up giving her like a quick bath before we came back out to do presents, but she was just covered. It might be good to make a regular viewer a mod. Chrysalis' comment got hidden by YouTube, and a mod can fix that for you. Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. Which, the comment about never piss off a hooker, is that the one? Yeah, it might be time for me to get a mod. Anybody want to be my mod? And congratulations to your little girl. The cake smash is such a cute new tradition. Yes, I absolutely love it. Oops, so sorry. Don't worry about it. I forget that YouTube and other social media platforms are trying to do their best to filter inappropriate comments. So I think they just have red flag words. So I think that's just them trying to do their best to not have inappropriate things happening on live streams. So no worries. I kept getting flagged on TikTok sending a message to someone because I always say hit me up when I mean for someone to contact me. And it kept flagging my comment to this person because I kept saying, hit me up if you want to know more about this or if you have questions on this. And I finally dawned on me that I kept saying hit me. And you can't. Holler, I'll do it. Oh, Lacey, you want to be my mod? You're down. I'll put you on. I'll look into how that works. And Kim, I can make you a mod too. I think you can have more than one mod. You guys are with me every time I live stream, so I was joking about the freezer. I know that. YouTube's filter doesn't know that. And it's my name, Mod. Mod can be a mod for sure. I trust all of you. VJ, absolutely. I will look into how many mods I can have, and I trust giving that power to you guys. They don't know crocheters have a wicked sense of humor. We sure do. Ask us about how many balls we have and how big they are. More than one mod is also a good idea in general. That's what I'm thinking. That way, if I have a couple of you as my mods for the weeks that some of you can't make it, I will at least have a good chance of having one in here. Except maybe Lacey. Oh my gosh, it's a good joke, but I know that girl works her butt off. There is no limit on mods. Awesome. Well, I will set you guys up then after we close out this live stream, which I am past my time. I've got to go pick up Annie from my dad's. I almost was on here late because I put her in the high chair with bananas to get ready, and she had a field day with it, bananas everywhere, and I was not trying to put my dad in that situation, and I had to hurry up and give her a bath. Let's see. They flagged one of mine because I said whip it. Oh, isn't that like the Ready Whip things too? Don't they call those whippets? LOL, I'm a total stalker. You're just down for a live stream. Yarn Geek got a warning for saying big balls to me. I mean, I feel like we should be allowed to joke. It's not inappropriate, right? You can't be too rough on jokes like that. It's not offending anybody, and it's referring to our yarn. Oh, you guys were they fuzzy? You guys trying to give me flat. All right, guys, I am going to go ahead and end the live stream. I am so happy to be here with you this week. I will catch you guys next week. Don't forget that if you liked this video, hit the like button and share it with anyone that you think may enjoy this video. And until next time, happy crafting, you guys. Bye. Yes, in the broadcast.